Charles Leclerc has come out and asked Ferrari to improve Ferrari because, according to him, Red Bull has an advantage in this area. But why? What has made him say that? What has made him question his own company? About Leclerc and Ferrari. Charles Leclerc is one of Ferrari's leading men and has won a couple of championships. He won the GP3 Series Championship back in 2016 and FIA Formula 2 Championship in 2017. Leclerc debuted in Formula 1 in 2018 for Sauber, a Ferrari-affiliated team where he was a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy. After finishing last the year before, Leclerc spearheaded the charge to move Sauber up to 8th in the constructors' standings, and he was the higher-ranked of the two Sauber drivers. What happened and how it happened? Leclerc won 2 of the first 3 races of the season, taking advantage of 2 retirements by primary rival Max Verstappen to take a commanding early lead in the championship standings. However, with Verstappen claiming back-to-back victories and maximum points in Imola and Miami, Leclerc's lead has shrunk to just 19 points over the current F1 champion. This affected the young racer as he went straight to his company and asked for some speed upgrades. Not to mention that Leclerc still respects Verstappen, but the last loss made him question his abilities and the company's. Max Verstappen is worried. Max Verstappen has won 3 of the 5 races this season but has failed to finish the other 2, leaving him in second place behind Charles Leclerc in the standings. Verstappen says Red Bull has issues to solve as he prepares for the Spanish GP. According to Max Verstappen, despite their back-to-back triumphs, Red Bull still has problems to tackle if they are to defeat Ferrari and Charles Leclerc for this year's Formula 1 titles. Many consider Verstappen the favorite to defend his Formula 1 title this year after dominating both the Emilia-Romagna and Miami Grand Prix, convincingly outperforming Leclerc on both occasions. After a bad Friday in Miami due to a hydraulic leak, which followed DNFs in Bahrain and Australia, Verstappen underlined his awful Saturday in Miami. "We're still working through a few difficulties," added Verstappen, whose teammate Sergio Perez experienced engine problems throughout the race. "We're quick, but my Friday was a disaster, which isn't ideal for a relaxing weekend." Leclerc demands improvements in race trim. Given Red Bull's performance over the last 2 weekends, particularly in the races, Leclerc is expecting a response from his team, pointing to how the F175 uses its tires compared to the RB18. "We need to respond in the race, especially on the softer compounds," Leclerc told the journalists. "On the medium and soft, it appears like they've been a bit stronger and better handling those tires over the past 2 races in terms of race pace. We usually manage to get those tires in the ideal window in qualifying, which helps us, but we suffer a little more in the extended runs compared to them." Leclerc is still happy with his lead. With all this going on, Leclerc is still pretty optimistic. He's worried, but he's happy and humble. Leclerc also discussed the current standings, including whether he preferred to be the hunted or the hunter, with Verstappen having come back from a 46-point deficit after Australia. "I believe we've only had 1 spot since the start of the season, which implies we're being pursued now," he continued. "To be honest, I enjoy this position since it indicates that you are doing something well, but it is also true that the gap between the 2 races is gradually shrinking. But it doesn't matter to me which position I'm in. All I care about is being the most competitive. It appears that Red Bull has the upper hand in the races right now." Charles and his rivalry with Max. Before the Miami Grand Prix, ESPN spoke with championship leader and Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc on his fondness for America, mentally preparing for each race, and his relationship with title rival Max Verstappen. Michael Schumacher used to joke that he could come to the United States during the peak of his Ferrari career and have a nice vacation since no one would recognize him. Is that still the case when it comes to a Ferrari driver? Formula 1 has grown in popularity in the United States in recent years, making it increasingly difficult to go without being recognized. It's encouraging to see that the sport is flourishing here. We all saw in Austin last year how so many fans came out, and I'm sure this weekend will be a wild ride. Before F1, I had never had the opportunity to visit the United States. It's a town I've liked since I first visited, and I remained in Los Angeles after my first race and just enjoyed it. Everything is enormous here. It's like Europe, except everything is 20 or 50 times bigger. It makes you believe that anything can happen, that you can do anything here, and I adore it. You've always been vocal about how important a driver's mental approach is in Formula One. Do you find yourself practicing psychologically and physically to compete for a championship? I believe that now more than ever, it's all about self-control. When I was younger, I had to go through a lot of training to learn how to exercise self-discipline and regulate what you feel, your emotions, and your thinking, which is crucial going into a weekend. It's critical to know how to de-stress and to be able to give your all in any situation, especially when there's a lot of pressure. Charles reveals his future plans. On the track, Charles Leclerc competes against his friend Pierre Gasly, but outside of it, they might start some partnerships and possibly work together on another business in life beyond Formula One. Obviously, fashion is one industry that I love, Pierre Gasly remarked. I have a couple of mutual interests with Charles, so we might end up doing something together. I've always been interested in business in general since I was a very young child, but as Charles said, there's a time for everything. Obviously, F1 takes time, commitment, devotion, and energy. So when I'm not on track, I like to turn off my phone. However, it is still too early to consider these issues, so we'll see what happens in the future. We love you, Charles, and your millions of fans love you even more.